everyone, and welcome to another episode of FPL A+. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube so that you can get alerts for our next video. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at FPL A+. Today I will be covering some strategies that you can follow to maximize your points and plan in advance. Okay, so firstly, just to have a look at Game Week 6 that is coming up. This is my team. At this stage, as per my previous video, I was contemplating whether to make transfers or not. What I have done is I have brought in Saar in place of Torres, who is not currently in the best of form, but as I speak, he's played in the EFL Cup today and he's scored a goal as at this point in time. And then the second transfer I've made, I've taken out Ben White and I brought in Alonso. Now you might be asking, why bring in Alonso if he's playing Manchester City? So my reasons are quite simple. I'm taking a -4 point hit, and yes, Alonso might not score as much points in here, or he might concede a goal, might not get attacking returns. But if we look at Chelsea's fixtures over the next few matches after Manchester City, they've got Southampton at home, Brentford away, Norwich home, Newcastle away, Burnley home, Leicester away, and only after that do we see some reds. So we shouldn't only be looking at transfers from a one-match perspective, but in groups of transfers. Who do you want to get in? And if you also go back and just look at his history, 15.6 points. Okay, he had a 2-pointer there. 5 points, 10 points. He's scored goals, he's had assists, he's had clean sheets. So he is definitely in form. He's playing in a Chelsea team that is massively focused as well as defensively natured, very strong at the back, probably the strongest defense in the league. And Alonso is also the top defender in FPL in terms of points. Alexander-Arnold, I'm hoping that he will play. It's possibly just illness. We've got Marcel, who is from Wolves, had a disappointing Game Week 5, but hopefully can come good in this Game Week. Sanchez, decent fixture against Crystal Palace. Then we've got Greenwood against Aston Villa, should hopefully still play. Salah as the current vice-captain. We've got Jota, he should hopefully play. Firmino's not back. We've got Bamford. Just keep an eye on Bamford. He currently is not playing in the EFL Cup match with some sort of strain. So keep an eye out for the press conferences to see whether he is playing, but I think he most likely will be playing. I don't think he's sort of really injured. It's probably just more precautionary. Then we've got Antonio that's back. If you kept him, great choice. He's got a decent fixture to score some decent results against Leeds. And then we've got CR7 to play against Aston Villa, and CR7 is also my captain choice. He possibly might be the #1 captain choice for this week. So that's a pretty decent captain to have, and I think overall taking a 4-point hit for a team like this, I think it's pretty decent. So those are just some of my my thoughts in terms of why I've chosen what I've chosen. What I'll next go into is how can you strategize going forward, and what have I done to strategize going forward that has influenced my current team that I have chosen. So that is quite key. When you're choosing players, don't focus just bringing in players for one game week. Make sure that you've got a plan for them and an exit plan for them going out, and also keep in mind price changes. Okay, so firstly what you want to have a look at is, so this is on livefpl.net. If you go to the section called effective ownership, captaincy and triple captaincy of all players, this is based on the last game week. You'll see who the top players are. So in the top 10k, these are very experienced managers. Okay, these are the elite of the elite, so they definitely have got some logic in their thinking. You'll see these are all the top players, and quite a few of them, if not most of them, I've actually got currently. You obviously can't have all of them. It might be quite tricky price-wise, but if you prioritize them and get them at the right time, it can do wonders. So the only players I don't have here is Shaw, who arguably is not in the best of form at this point. I also don't have Ben Rama, who was a potential non-starter but did start and had a surprisingly good result. So the fact that he scored and he had an effective ownership of 50% in the top 100 and 46%, that was actually quite bad for people that were within those ranks, including myself. I was in the top 100k because of his 50% effective ownership. That did actually hurt me quite badly. So I dropped from about 82,000 to around about 152,000, and that was because Torres never started, Ben Rama scored, and my bench player, that was Alan, scored only 2 points. Okay, so just keep this in mind. You can go to the various subsequent pages. Torres, who is kind of a bit of a debatable player pick at this point. If my suggestion is, if you don't have him, don't bring him in. If you do have him, I would suggest think about it hard. If you don't have any other fires to put out, then I'd suggest possibly considering taking him out. But if you do have other fires to take out in your team, then probably keep him, because he could start one, not start one, and he is playing sort of up front as a striker in one of the top attacking teams in the league. So at any point in time, even coming off the bench, he could score. And then we've got some other players to consider, more fringe players such as Jimenez, Duffy, Gray, Marcel, and then Lukaku, who you could definitely say in the next few weeks, these stats, 24% ownership, will definitely be going up. Ben White, who is quite good value for money, it's only 4.4 million. Traore, not sort of my preference. He flatters to deceive. He's a very good player, but FPL wise, he tends to miss a lot of chances. Semedo, who's also got some good attacking potential. Williams, probably been the disappointment in terms of my selection so far. I'll most likely be keeping him on the bench until a point in time that I have a free transfer and I don't have any priorities that I can take him out. And then Tierney, possibly also quite good value, but at this stage, if I had to choose between White and Tierney, I'd probably say still White until we see some more attacking potential converting into points from Tierney. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then another aspect to keep in mind is price rises. So this is from Fantasy Football Fix. So if you are looking at bringing in Ben Rama, tonight's a good night to bring him in, as well as Rudiger, because they are expected to rise in price. This is not 100% accurate, but this shows the high likelihood that the prices could increase. If there are wild cards that are being played, then these potential progresses are then artificially inflated. Lukaku as well, definitely a top pick to bring in. I was considering bringing in, but because I've got a premium striker in Ronaldo, it won't make sense to actually take him out because that might be seen as a bit of a sideways move. But definitely in future, I've got Lukaku in my transfer plan. Dennis, I have got to be honest, he has exceeded my expectation. I wasn't sure whether he was going to start for Watford, given all the strikers that Watford have signed. They're probably the team with the most strikers that are in their squad, but he's definitely got great potential. If you're looking for a budget player, keep in mind he's only 5.2 million. So if you're wanting to beef up your team elsewhere, just bear in mind, don't have too high expectations, given that he's only 5.2 million. But who knows? He could be one of the bargains of the season. So just keep an eye out for him. Okay, this is another website that you could also use, fplstatistics.co.uk. As you can see, Ben Rama is noted on here, as well as Rudiger, Cancelo, Lukaku, Dennis, quite a few of the players that we saw earlier as well. They also are up in line for a potential price rise very soon. Ben Rama appears to be very close tonight, already in the region of 100.6%. Okay, so now lastly, what is my transfer plan going forward? So this is the team that you saw in game week 6. Okay, so now I will be utilizing livefpl.net's transfer planner. That also shows you next to it in terms of the fixtures and which players and what teams you would like to target. So let me show you. Going from this team in game week 6, what is my plan then possibly for game week 7? But keep in mind to have a flexible plan because things change very quickly in FPL and in the actual game itself. Anything can happen. Teams can actually be having injuries, COVID, etc. So just keep that in mind. So what is my plan? So my plan is to bring in another defender from Chelsea. As you can see, Chelsea's fixtures after game week 7 look brilliant. Look at that sea of green. So you definitely want to maximize in terms of having players from Chelsea in your team. Lukaku is definitely top of the pops as well. However, I might not bring him in because Ronaldo has got Everton. So instead of actually taking a -4 point hit, I could potentially wait 1 week longer. Transfer Marcel out for Rudiger. I would have ideally liked to take out Williams for Rudiger, but the budget does not allow me. Otherwise, I would need to take out Williams for Christensen, who might not probably be the most nailed on and probably much more defensively minded than Rudiger, who's got some attacking potential, as we saw in game week 5. So this is possibly my transfer. And then looking at the team overall, Sanchez, not a bad fixture. Arsenal, Alexander-Arnold, that could be a tough fixture, but he's also got attacking potential. So remember, he's probably a long-term pick. We've got Saar against Leeds, that should be a good fixture. And then the other transfer that I am planning to make is taking out or transferring in Rafinha for Greenwood. So the reason being, if you just look at the fixtures that Manchester United have, they've got Everton, they've got Leicester, they've got Liverpool, Tottenham, Manchester City. So those fixtures are not looking very good overall. Well, Greenwood could score, but just in terms of a ceiling, if you then look at Leeds, Watford, Southampton, Wolves, Norwich, so it makes sense in terms of a higher potential to go for Rafinha. That also gives you extra budget. So that did allow me then to upgrade Rudiger, upgrade Marcel to Rudiger. Okay, so my captain possibly Ronaldo, and potentially I could probably vice captain. I think Bamford would probably be a better chance, so I'll change that now live and then just click on save my team. Okay, so that then saves my team. Then moving on to the next game week. Let's just see, what do we have in terms of game week 8? What is the possible transfer if required? So it's always good to actually keep in mind looking at your transfers from a 2 to 3 game week potential. So if we have a look at over here, this team looks very similar to the one that I've got in the last round. And if you have a look at it, this does not actually look too bad. So I might actually potentially keep this team. So as you see it here, this is without making any transfers. The one that I could potentially bring in, but it's debatable, is depending on how Ronaldo's form is, whether I bring in Chelsea for the Brentford game. I know it's listed as green, whereas the Manchester United game against Leicester is in grey. However, Brentford are defensively very strong at this point in time, and the Chelsea game is away. So even though the Manchester United game is also away, I would probably rate Brentford's defense stronger than Leicester's. So I might potentially leave Ronaldo, but I'll see closer to the time. And then lastly, if we go to game week 9. So let's see, what do we actually have here? So game week 9, in terms of looking at possible transfers. So as you can see, Lukaku, so I've carried a transfer forward. So Lukaku for Norwich, definitely want to have Lukaku for all these fixtures in green over there. And then I've made a luxury transfer because I've carried a transfer forward. If you look at my goalkeeper, who is at this point in time from Brighton, he's got Manchester City, Liverpool, then he's got some okay games, but if you look at Brentford, it appears he's got much more better fixtures, and You look at Brighton, they start off against Manchester City and Liverpool. So those are going to be very limited points. So my strategy is to try to maximize it without taking hits if possible. Or if you're taking hits, to make sure that the players you're bringing in cumulative combined basis, they are going to be there either long term or they're definitely going to score you higher points. So Raya is my goalkeeper choice that I'm intending to bring in. And I could swap him out again at some stage in future, but for now, that's hopefully my plan. Okay, moving on to game week 10, which will be sort of where we wrap it up. So at this stage, if we just look at the team for game week 10, in terms of who do we bring in, if you just look at the team, we possibly don't need to bring anyone in. So just have a look at that. Raya, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Alonso, Rudiger, Jota, Salah, Sarr, Rafinha, Lukaku, Bamford, Antonio, all have brilliant fixtures. That's an awesome team to have by that time. And if you just look at the summary of what transfers are proposed provisionally at this stage, taking a -4, which I've done in this game week 6 potentially, the next one -4, then I have no transfers. I then had utilized my 2 free transfers, and yeah, so ultimately I'm taking minor hits in 2 rounds, but I get the benefit after that, and this brings an excellent team. So no need to wildcard if you can evolve to such an effective team. So keep in mind to utilize livefpl.net. It's a fabulous website, fabulous tools. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at FPLA+. Thank you very much, and all the best for Game Week 6. Cheerio!